All right. On page 261, go ahead and just use those 2 learning targets, please, and thank you. We're going to focus on mainly the first learning target today, and tomorrow we'll look at the second. But what we'll be practicing with our lesson first is defining and recognizing a comic character or caricature, and secondly is analyzing comic characters and caricatures within a written text. So right below that, we have essentially these descriptions of characterization and a caricature. And what I want you to do is just make the markings that you see on the screen. So you'll just go ahead and you'll highlight the info that pops up. First thing I want you to highlight is just a refresher of what is characterization. It's something you focused in 6th grade and 7th grade. Characterization is essentially a personality that's developed by an author. And the way that they can do this is through the way the character may say things or think things or feel. And they can also develop a personality through a character by their physical looks, their actions, and how they choose to interact with other characters. Now, the second term in there that I want you to just refresh your memory in on is a caricature. Now, a caricature, it is characterization. It's when the author or maybe an animator, they're going to exaggerate a trait about this character, but they're doing it to make it humorous. So we see drawings that are caricatures where an artist looks at a certain facial feature and they'll go ahead and they'll make it larger. So maybe the caricature of someone having a rather large nose on their face. And an animator or an artist will go ahead and just totally blow it out of proportion to make it funny. All right? Now, caricatures are huge. They're found a lot in animation. And we're going to be looking at one particular series of caricatures from a pretty well-known animated show. And you may or may not have figured it out. The bottom of page 1, we've got this chart that we're going to be filling in. And the left-hand column has character names listed. I want you to raise your hand if you know who these characters are, where they come from. Excellent. Excellent. Derek, who are these people? Good. These are the Simpsons. Now, you may or may not have noticed one character isn't in there. That's Maggie, the baby. She's not a part of this particular exercise, and that's okay. We're going to be watching, you're really talkative today. We're going to be watching the opening scene from one episode a few times for you to kind of figure out and determine what has been characterized about this person or about this character. So what it says on the screen in the light blue box to the left, it says that we're going to be sketching out each member of the family. So we'd be developing a sketch for Bart, the son, Homer, the father, Marge, the mother, and Lisa, the oldest daughter, as well as the family. All right, now if you take a look at the whiteboard that's right next to the smartboard, you may or may not have noticed that I decided to just do quick sketches of the hairlines of these characters. Now, mainly this is for those of you that really don't know who these characters are, but if you want to use those ideas to really pinpoint a look of these characters, you can do that too. But I'm going to go ahead and show you the first viewing of the scene. Again, what you really want to focus in on is just making a really quick sketch of who each individual person is. And those of you that don't know who these characters are, don't freak out because I will call off their names as you're watching the clip. So you can finish up your sketches if you need to. We're going to see this clip a second time, the same exact thing. But the second time, you folks are going to be really focusing in on one of the characters, and you're going to be determining details that you see about the character as well as your interpretation of him or her. So if you look at your book or at the screen, doesn't matter which, the first row, the row about Bart, has been completed for you. So in terms of details of Bart, how exactly would we describe what he's doing? Well, Springboard tells us the idea that he's repeatedly writing sentences on the board. And I think you folks figured out what he was saying. If you didn't, check it out, because it was pretty funny. All right. And in terms of the interpretation, Springboard's pretty much asking, who is this character the stereotype of? So Springboard states that, hey, Bart's really the stereotypical bad kid. He's the son, he's going to make mess-ups, he's going to be the one that is riding the skateboard around town, causing havoc, ruining Dad's car by jumping on it. So I wanted to take about 30 seconds and determine with your family who's going to be looking at which character, of Homer, Marge, Lisa, or the entire family. All right, so go ahead, determine 30 seconds who's going to look at which character. Okay, once you folks are done wrapping up your notes, discuss with your family. That way you can go ahead and copy the information for the other remaining characters. So I'll give you about 40 minutes to make sure you've got your notes done and that you've shared it with your family. All right, folks. I'm going to do a quick rundown of some stereotypes of each one of the characters. So if you weren't able to get a stereotype really nailed down, these are just some possible ones. You may have gone with something a little bit different. If you want to copy these pieces down, you can, but there's certainly not a quick requirement if you did your own. So Homer, he's the stereotypical dad, but he's kind of the dopey dad. You know, he makes mistakes. He's kind of careless about his work, of what he does. Marge, she's the stereotypical, the loving mom, the stay-at-home mom, but she does make some mistakes. The idea of having your child get scanned at the grocery store is, you know, kind of an oopsie. You got Lisa. Lisa's that stereotypical A+ student, super smart. She's the good daughter, while Bart is the bad son. She's kind of a nerd. And then in terms of the family, well, they're just your average American family. Yeah, they're yellow. It looks like they suffer from jaundice, but, you know, these guys each have their own faults, but together they love each other. They're a family, regardless. All right, go ahead and turn that page. And on page 262, in the My Notes column, I want you to make a key, just like that blue screen is saying. I want you to make a key for 3 distinct characters, and I want you to make 3 separate markings for each one. So we're going to have a mark for Mr. Frampton, which is actually Mr. Nuttall. I'm sorry, Frampton is his first name. It's Mr. Nuttall. We're going to have a mark for Mrs. Stapleton and a mark for the niece. So maybe you have a circle, a square, and a star, or maybe you have 3 different highlighters. All right. Now, what you're going to be doing with these markers, while we're reading the story, anytime that you see a characteristic or a personality trait pop up about any of those 3 characters, I want you to mark it with the key that you used. So maybe it's something that they state aloud, maybe it's an action of theirs, something that they're thinking about. Okay? Now, a little bit of background about this story that we're going to be reading. The man who wrote this, his name is Hector Hugo Monroe. He had a pen name of Saki, and his writing liked to take place in Edwardian times, talking about Edwardian people. Now, that idea is this. Think about late 19th, early 20th century. All right, so you're getting an idea of maybe how these people dressed. He liked to poke fun at those that felt they were kind of the upper echelon. They were better than other people. They kind of had a snooty air about them. This author likes to poke fun at that and make fun of them for it. So this piece is kind of dealing with the upper crust of society, but poking some fun at it. So we're going to be reading the story and answering all the key idea and detail questions. I'm not going to be showing you any marks to copy. I'm not going to be writing answers on the screen for you to copy. It's all going to be a part of what you hear in our conversation and copying it down. Okay? So let's go ahead and read the story. This is The Open Window by Saki. My aunt will be down presently, Mr. Nuttall, said a very self-possessed young lady of 15. In the meantime, you must try and put up with me. Francie Nuttall endeavored to say the correct something, which should duly flatter the niece of the moment without unduly discounting the aunt that was to come. Privately, he doubted more than ever whether these formal visits on a succession of total strangers would do much towards helping the nerve cure, which he was supposed to be undergoing. I know how it would be, his sister had said when he was preparing to migrate to this rural retreat. You would bear yourself down there and not speak to a living soul, and your nerves would be worse than ever from moping. I shall just give you letters of introduction to all the people I know there. Some of them, as far as I can remember, were quite nice. Okay, now there's a marking that I do want you to make in regards to the character of Mr. Nuttall. I want you to mark the idea that he has a reason to go for helping a nerve cure. Something is going on with this man. So I want you to go ahead and highlight it. It's in the second paragraph, the idea of he's going for a nerve cure. Okay, now I wouldn't doubt that you folks are well aware, 19th, 20th century, a lot of ailments people thought could be fixed. And a lot of doctors and psychologists of the time thought a lot of issues had to be hospitalized. So a lot of things that we look at as normal today, back then, they saw it as a problem. They wanted to hide it from society. So we've got this key idea and detail question that's on the bottom of page 262. Nathan, could you read that for us?
Why is it significant that Frampton Nuttall is described as undergoing a nerve cure? Predict how this detail could be used for humorous effect.
Okay, so back in that time, the idea of being ailed with nerves literally meant that you were just socially awkward and you were a nervous person. They considered that, you need to be hospitalized or fixed. Okay, that's normal. That happens to people. Some people are just nervous around new folks. Hello, I think that's every single one of us. So what I would suggest you probably put in your mind notes column, this idea of a nerve cure, they're trying to fix him from being a nervous personality. So this man is being brought to a home in the hopes of being cured, of being nervous. Now, the second part of the question is asking, how could being nervous be used for a humorous effect? So how could being a nervous person how could it be humorous?
You're clumsy and make mistakes.
Okay, maybe you're a little bit clumsy, you make some mistakes, so that could be seen as humorous. Okay, speech might be repetitive, could be stuttering, some folks could find it funny. Okay, that's okay.
You could exaggerate, have to do them sweating profusely.
Okay, exaggerate, perhaps sweating profusely when you're nervous. Get some sweet pit stains going on. So we know that Frampton Nuttall is a nervous personality. We know that he has come to this home in the hopes of being cured. All right? Let's see what's going to be going down next. So I'm at the top of page 263. Frampton wondered whether Mrs. Stapleton, the lady to whom he was presenting one of the letters of introduction, came into the nice division. Do you know many of the people around here? Asked the niece, when she judged that they had had sufficient silent communication. Hardly a soul, said Frampton. My sister was staying here at the rectory, some 4 years ago, and she gave me letters of introduction to some of the people here. He made the last statement in a tone of distinct regret. Then you know practically nothing about my aunt? Pursued the self-possessed young lady. Only her name and address, admitted the caller. He was wondering whether Mrs. Stapleton was in the married or widowed state. An undefinable something about the room seemed to suggest masculine habitation. Her great tragedy happened just 3 years ago, said the child. That would be since her sister's time. Her tragedy? Asked Frampton. Somehow in this restful country spot, tragedy seemed out of place. You may wonder why we keep our window wide open on an October afternoon, said the niece, indicating a large French window that opened onto a lawn. It is quite warm for the time of the year, said Frampton, but has that window got anything to do with the tragedy? Out through that window, 3 years ago to a day, her husband and her 2 young brothers went off for their day shooting. They never came back, and crossing the moor to their favorite snipe shooting ground, they were all 3 engulfed in a treacherous piece of bog. It had been the dreadful wet summer, you know, and places that received in other years gave way suddenly without warning. Their bodies were never recovered. That was the dreadful part of it. Here the child's voice lost its self-possessed note and became falteringly human. Poor aunt always thinks that they will come back someday. They and that little brown spaniel that was lost with them and walking at that window just as they used to do. That is why the window is kept open every evening till it is quite dusk. Poor dear aunt. She's often told me how they went out, her husband with his white waterproof coat over his arm, and Ronnie, her youngest brother, singing Bertie, why do you bound, as he always did to tease her, because she said it got on her nerves. Do you know, sometimes on still, quiet evenings like this, I almost get a creepy feeling that they will all walk in through that window. She broke off with a little shudder. It was a relief to Frampton when the aunt bustled into the room with a roar of apologies for being late and making her appearance. I hope that has been amusing you, she said. She has been very interesting, said Frampton. See on page 263, there's one PID in detail we're going to go ahead and take care of. Grant, could you read that one for us?
What tone does the niece convey with her description of the tragedy? What effect might this precise detail have on her guest?
Okay, so kind of summarizing what happened here. This girl just revealed to a nervous man that people died on this property. They're gone. And they keep the window open because the aunt thinks, hey, they're going to come walking right back in. They're going to die. How do you think that's going to affect a dude that's nervous? Maybe make him more nervous? Anything else? Okay. What are you going with, Santiago? Might make him think there's someone on the property.
Make him immediately say, hey, this isn't very nice, you can go away.
There you go. I'm fixed now. Thanks so much. Adios. Kind of not wanting to be there anymore. These are all thoughts to be writing down. I'm going to pick up where we left off, so I'm at the top of page 264. I hope you don't mind the open window, said Mrs. Stapleton briskly. My husband and brothers will be home directly from shooting, and they always come in this way. They've been out for snipe in the marshes today, so they'll make a fine mess over my poor carpets. So like you men folk, isn't it? She rattled on cheerfully about the shooting and the scarcity of birds and the prospects for duck in the winter. To Frampton, it was all purely horrible. He made a desperate but only partially successful effort to turn the talk onto a less ghastly topic. He was conscious that his hostess was giving him only a fragment of her attention, and her eyes were constantly straying past him to the open window and the lawn beyond. It was certainly an unfortunate coincidence that he should have paid his visit on this tragic anniversary. Okay, there's a key ID and detail on page 264, that very first one. Could you read that for us, Victoria?
Lines and angles for Frampton to listen to missing samples.
What's kind of like going on here? Taylor? Yeah, we got a wife here, and oh, they're coming right back. They're just outside. Okay, this is a home that's supposed to fix someone that's nervous, but you got some cray-cray lady that thinks her dead husband's going to be walking through the window. Awkward, a little bit freaky. This woman's not with reality. Reality is the guy's dead and she thinks he's alive. Poor, nervous Frampton. What's he gonna do? I'm going to continue reading. I'm on paragraph 20. The doctors agreed, ordering the complete rest, an absence of mental excitement, and avoidance of anything in the nature of violent physical exercise, announced Frampton, who labored under the tolerably widespread delusion that total strangers and chance acquaintances are hungry for the least detail of one's ailments and infirmities, their cause and cure. On the matter of diet, they are not so much in agreement, he continued. No, said Mrs. Stapleton, in a voice which only replaced a yawn at the last moment. Then she suddenly brightened into alert attention, but not to what Frampton was saying. "Hello at last!" she cried. "Just in time for tea, and don't they look as if they were muddy up to the eyes?" Frampton shivered slightly and turned towards the niece with a look intended to convey sympathetic comprehension. The child was staring out through the open window with dazed horror in her eyes. In a chill shock of nameless fear, Frampton swung round in his seat and looked in the same direction. In the deepening twilight, three figures were walking across the lawn towards the window. They all carried guns under their arms, and one of them was additionally burdened with a white coat hung over his shoulders. A tired brown spaniel kept close at their heels. Noiselessly they neared the house, and then a hoarse young voice chanted out of the dusk, "I said, Betty, where do you go?" Frampton grabbed wildly at a stick and hat. The hall door, the gravel drive, and the front gate were dimly noted stages in this headlong retreat. A cyclist coming along the road had to run into the hedge to avoid an imminent collision. "Here we are, my dear," said the bearer of the white mackintosh, coming in through the window. "Fairly muddy, but most of it's dry. Who was that who bolted out as we came up?" All right. Key idea and detail. Page 264. It's the second one. Why does Frampton's quick movements seem not only silly but almost pathetic? Why would it be silly, his reaction? And maybe why might it be considered, oh dude, sad, man, sad? So, what did this 15-year-old niece just do? What did we just realize? What'd she do, Jen?
She completely lied about the story.
She lied. She totally lied through her teeth. So why is it silly / kind of pathetic that Frampton acted this way? Yeah. Okay, do you believe through the seeing ghosts? I mean, do you guys believe when 5-year-olds are telling you stuff, or you just kind of shake your head and go, yeah, sounds awesome. There's a unicorn in Buffalo? Sweet. Sweet. And I have to do that same thing with some of my students. Look at them, they tell me something, I'm like, you liar. Oh, Mom, that sounds magical. You liar. Mm-hmm. So it's using your reasoning, using your rationale, and this poor guy, he's kind of lacking it, 100%. Not realistic. All right, last part of the story, very interesting one, paragraph 27. He was the most extraordinary man, that Mr. Meadow, said Mrs. Stapleton, could only talk about his illnesses and dash off without a word of goodbye or apology when you arrived. Whoever would think he had seen a ghost? I expect it was the spaniel, said the niece calmly. He told me he had a horror of dogs. He was once hunted into a cemetery somewhere on the banks of the Ganges by a pack of pariah dogs, and had to spend the night in the newly dug grave with the creature snarling and grinning and staring just above him. Enough to make anyone lose their nerve. Romance, at short notice, was the niece's specialty. What did the girl just do again?
Lies.
Oh, she's lying. She's like a pathological liar. Total pathological liar. And I personally love the little bit of wordplay that's happening. 27, paragraph 27, Mrs. Stapleton going, oh, I would think he had seen a ghost. Well, yeah, he thought he did, lady. And then this cunning little girl makes this comment at the very end, enough to make anyone lose their nerve. And why was he there? He had nerve issues. So a little clever little bit there. So last part of the key idea in detail, the last question on page 264. Why is his reaction more comic than appropriate? So the way he ran for the hills, escaping doom. When you're ready for it, step 5 is what we're going to be concluding with. And step 5 is asking you to do something called a 3-2-1 reflection. So if you take a look on the screen, go ahead and copy down that number letters series, and then I'll explain why it's written there for you. So we've got 3, ABC, 2, AB, and 1. So in terms of a 3-2-1 reflection, the 3 represents a description of 3 items that are humorous. So next to letters A through C, you'd write one portion or element of the story that was humorous. So the action of Mr. Meadow, the lie of the niece. The 2 stands for characters that you can picture vividly. To me, reading about Francis Meadow totally reminds me of Ichabod Crane, 100% from Sleepy Hollow. I'm totally picturing that little naughty-kneed character that Walt Disney created back in the 50s with a giant nose and just scared of everything. That's who I picture all the time. The girl, the niece, I'm just thinking of like this powdered girl, like super grown up, that Edwardian style, but the idea that at the very end when she tells these lies, she kind of does the Seymour Burns thing with the fingers, like, excellent. And she's got just this creepy little smile. I totally picture that. Then for the 1 of the quick write, the 3-2-1 reflection, a question that you've got. So maybe you're not understanding a certain piece, there's something about the character that just isn't matching up with what you have. So go ahead and take a couple of minutes, getting that quick write done. For some of you, it might only take a minute.